Hey, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's November 19th. This will be our chart listen for today. And real quick look at our daily chart. You can see that we had, it looks like a reversal day. We'll need to get some follow through to buying tomorrow, but it started off relatively bearish. There was some uh, high volatility news this morning on the housing starts, and I think we came in under estimates, so that spooked the market. It sold off, but it within a rather quickly it found the bottom and reversed and took all that back and continued to rally. And we almost closed on our high. Well, we hadn't quite closed yet, but it looks like we're going to close near our high unless something crazy happens in the next 20 minutes. But it appears that we should close up today based on just looking at it and how much time we've got in the day. The market seems to have slowed down to a crawl now. So um, that's pretty that's pretty common for this time of day. But anyway, you can see on the daily chart, nice bullish day here. It looks like a kind of a bullish reversal type day, but we'll see. We'll need to get some follow through, buying tomorrow and continue to climb, and that'll tell us a little bit more about whether we may be headed higher again or not. So, but let's flip over to our 2000 tick chart, take a look at it, and go through the trades. Not a lot of trades today. It was a real strong rally, but there weren't a lot of setups. But let's flip over there and take a look at that, and we'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up. Okay, here's a look at our 2000 tick chart. It looked like it might be another big range, but we broke out up here, came back, got in the range, and then broke out, and we closed outside of it. So I would say this is mostly a strong rally day, is the way I would describe this, even though it has the looks of a larger range. I mean, we started rallying just just before 8 o'clock. You can see we're right at 8 o'clock. We started rallying, and we rallied strongly today. Um, so I think you'd have to call this I would call it a bullish reversal day at this point. So we'll see if we get any follow through buying tomorrow. But for today, this was definitely a reversal type day because this early news really set the market off here. But like always, generally when you get one of these big, it was building permits, building starts. That came out at 7:30, and so you need to be out 10 minutes or so before that. So, but you could have started trading again by within 10 or 15 minutes. It's just a big downtrend, but there was no real way to get in that, so you had to kind of wait till that subsided to get a chance to get in it. I do see one trade I forgot to mark down here. Um, this was a second entry long here and a higher low. It's a big bar. I think that was the reason I didn't originally mark it, but we'll at least mark that green. We'll get to that pretty quick. But let's start with the trades here. We were coming down. We had our first break here, and you had to close outside and a couple of legs up. And then we're just kind of going sideways, but we tried to go higher. It clearly looks like we tried to go higher 3 times. So I like going short there just to hopefully to ride it back to the EMA, but hopefully to go ahead and make a run to a retest of this low because you got this channel working down here. And sure enough, that's what it did. It took off. Now you had to be out here. Now I would probably go ahead and exit. I may not exit right at. I may not exit early. I might wait till like 7:28 or 7:29 to exit this thing. If you've got a runner going here, and that means you could probably ride this all the way down to maybe it was here. Well, wasn't that far. I was thinking it was much further down than that, but maybe it wasn't. But somewhere exit right in here. Just I'd still probably be out of this by 7:30. Building permits. Maybe I would just put a safety stop one tick above the previous signal bar all the way down, and that way you could have got a lot more of this run. Now, if this was FOMC, no, don't play around with it. Get out. Do not mess around with it. But something like this is medium anyway, so this is not even red. I was thinking this was red, but it's actually medium. So I wouldn't even. I might put my stop above one tick above the bar, but I would not. Um, I would not exit. I don't think. Definitely not on a medium for sure. Even if this was red, I don't know if I would exit on that or not. So I'm going to remove that because that's kind of deceiving. I was thinking that was a red news impact, but it's not. It's medium. So I could have sworn it was red, but so much for that idea. Anyway, yeah, if it was red, even if it was red on the building permits, I probably would not exit. I would probably just, like I said, I would keep putting my safety stop. And if the news didn't affect it, I'd just let it keep going. But if it looked like the news was affecting it, before that news came out, I would have my safety stop one tick above the last bar or whatever, just in case it reverses, and you could go ahead and stop out. You won't lose any of your profits that you got on your runner or whatever. But this thing just kept going. It's like the bottom just kind of fell out of it. So, but it was relatively bearish news, and I believe that is why the market continued to sell off, even though this is a medium type news item. But we found the bottom, made a high or low here, and with that break and new low, and even if you drew your trend channel here, you get a break and a new low. And as big as that one is, it wouldn't hurt to draw it. And so you get the break and new low, and then you get a high or low here. So you might go long just to try to ride that back to the EMA and hope maybe you catch a bottom. And you would have caught a bottom, and you could ride that all the way up. This one is real close to being blue. You could actually argue for that to be blue, but this was a really strong sell-off, so I just feel comfortable leaving it at green, and I'll leave it at that. But if you took it and you felt it was blue, I think it's close, real close to being able to call that blue. We come up here, we get a break. There's just no other setups here. Nothing that I see that I would risk. And it's a shame because this is a nice rally. But we get a close outside, move to a new high, and then we're just kind of chopping sideways, and we just kind of chop right on up to a new high. And there's a short here, and you might argue we tried to go higher 3 times. And you couldn't call that a second entry because your newest low is right here on this double bottom. So that'd be a first entry, second entry, third entry. I just think it's a little congested, and when it didn't break below on that bar, if it would have broke below this bar here, let me zoom in here a little bit. If prices would have gone ahead and broke below that bar, I'd probably say take it. But when you got another sideways bar, it's obvious it's congestion here, and you see it try to come back even again before it kind of dropped lower. I just think you have to sit that one out. There's clearly 2 legs down in the second entry here, and you do have a break and a new low, but this is just kind of out in no man's land. It's one that, hey, maybe you take it, but it's a little aggressive. You need that high or low here and you don't get it, then you're just chopping around here. And this looks too much like sideways range. There's just no real clear lows or highs here. So you got to be careful getting long or short in this, because you don't really know what prices are trying to do here at this point. We don't. This channel doesn't even have a second touch until here. Now, you might have been testing it here, but I think it's way over here. So you don't really have a confirmed trend line yet or anything. So it's hard to know what prices are doing here. This is played out. This is played out. Now we're just kind of working sideways. So what we want to be able to do is easily determine where prices are going and try to get on with them, and you just can't tell that here. So you got to play range rules, and I don't see anything setting up here by range type setup that's consistent enough. Now this range got pretty consistent here. You can see we're consistently turning off the lows and turning down off the highs, other than this when we had this little failed breakout. And that kind of set the trend line. I drew the trend line off of that, and then we confirmed it right here when we came back. But notice here you've got a new high, and you get a first entry, then you pull back, and it bounces right off that support line again with a nice signal bar. And when it breaks above that, that's a second entry long. So I like that one just to play the range after a failed breakout. And then it turns down here. Unfortunately, you don't really get a good signal. Maybe this closes in the lower 1/3, but it's really hard to say, and it's one you might take. I'm not crazy about it, but maybe you take that one. You got to wait for this to close though. Don't trade it on the engulfing bar. Wait for it to close and then one tick below that. And that's assuming you got enough room to get out, which it looks like you do there. Yeah, you got enough to get out. So maybe you take that one. I'll give you a green on that one. If you took it, if you didn't take it, probably a smart move because it does look a little congested. We just had a failed break out the low side, which generally, and we traded up into this, so the odds are if it's going to break out, it's going to go to the long side. Then you could get a failure off at the top side, and or trying to go short and it go higher. In other words, it runs back down here, and you get another bounce, and again it confirms that trend line too. Nice signal bar. I like going long on that one, and it looks like it's going to turn back down again, but it just kind of chops sideways and takes off. And these are all first entries in here. You're looking at this as a channel here within that, and you get the break, and you add a new high here, and it just keeps working higher. So you may have, it wouldn't have hurt you to go ahead and draw a trend channel line here. It doesn't really change anything. There's still no real setups. You already get a break here and a couple legs up to a new high, but that, when it takes off again, that's telling you, hey, there's probably going to be a secondary channel. And we end up getting one here. That's the way I drew it. And you could have started down here and you kind of get the same thing, but I think it was obvious that we started a new channel here, in my opinion, and went forward. There's not a lot of entries here. You hardly even come back to that trend line till here. But you can see right here you get a first entry, second entry, and there's a new swing high here. So you get a first entry, second entry. So it's a failed second entry short and a second entry long. I like that one. It's a little aggressive. So, but this is, by this time, this is obvious this is a strong trend. So any decent setup you probably should take. Here's another second entry. This would have been a triple test if you had a decent signal bar. Then you get another second entry right here. And these are pretty low risk, 6 ticks, 5 ticks. So, you know, all of those you can get in with the 8 tick rule. And this makes a double top. So that's a new high. First entry, second entry. There's another second entry right off the key entry point. You get a high or low here, but you're fighting this downtrend line and the uptrend line. You can see it working kind of down into a little triangle here. So you don't know that it's going to go higher there. It could touch and turn down and then bounce up. So I don't think you want to go long there on a first entry or a high or low. I think you need something better than that. And of course it does get the break and then turns down. And then you get 2 legs up and another leg down, and it bounces right off the original key entry point. Now this is just a first entry, but that's a very, very bullish signal bar, and it gaps over. It does back up, so I know you could have got it in this at least with a limit order. If you couldn't get your order in time, you still could have got filled on this. It is just a first entry, but because it's off the key entry point and you do have your break and clearly 2 legs down, I like going long there. This is right. Try to ride it back to the EMA, and if this is over, we're probably going to make a new high on this channel, and then the bigger channel is still in play as well because we're bouncing off that trend line. And that turns out to be a really nice move up. I did not draw the channel because this is like a retest of the high on this one, so I just kind of let it play out, but you could draw it. It doesn't matter. And you can see you clearly have this channel working higher, and you get a break and a new high and a second entry short. And that second entry short sets up right at the overnight high. So for that reason, I like trying to ride that back to the EMA, and maybe it comes all the way back to the trend line, but that's a pretty nice move down there. There's no other entries there, just that one second entry right off the high overnight highs. But you get a break of this channel and you get another second entry. I believe this breaks higher first and turns down, but again, you got to wait on this to close. And I marked it green just because it's not a perfect signal bar. Does that close in the lower 1/3? Maybe. It's close. It's hard, you know, another tick for sure. It probably did. So maybe you take that one. It's starting to push it on the signal bar, so for that reason I made it green. And then we make a little double bottom here. We run up 2 legs. Just a first entry. There is a second entry long here, but you can't go long back into the overnight highs there. It ends up breaking out and taking off, but you don't know that's going to happen, so there's no setups in here. This is just too risky. This thing does, it just takes off, and you got another channel working higher here, but you don't get any setups on it really. Then all of a sudden we get a break, and we just start trending lower. We get a break of this, but this was, again, I felt like this was the move up for a retest. So I don't think you want to go short. Now, when you get the failure here on the failed second entry long, if it breaks lower, they were probably headed back to the trend line. So I like that one. And you want to draw that trend line. This thing, the bottom just falls out of it. I don't see any other entries down through there that I would want to take. And then we get back in the range and we just find support across there. And notice how we test it 1, 2, 3, and maybe you can even call that 4 with a very nice bullish signal bar. I like going long. Again, you're just trying to ride it back to retest those highs. And if it goes higher, maybe you get lucky and you can get a big move out of it. And it runs up, comes back, gives a first entry, second entry. So there's a second entry long here, but it didn't trigger on this bar, so you have to wait for this one. And then by that time, I don't know if that closes in the upper 1/3. It's close. I would just sit tight because you're really trying to go long back into the support resistance line. And really to go long, you'd want it to bounce out here a couple of times and then go long. And you do get a higher low here. I think it's still too risky. I'd like to see it at least test it one more time. It does here. And then again, the signal bar is not very good. It's not much room to the highs there. And you don't get really a triple test because it just kind of continues to work higher. It takes you into too far into 230. So, and I don't think you want to go short here either. We're making higher highs, and from right here on, we're making higher highs and higher lows. So don't try to go short there unless you got a lower high or something. And then you probably wouldn't have had room back into the support resistance anyway. So there it is. Not a ton of trades today, not a lot of them, but there's a few, and most of them are fairly straightforward. So yeah, not much else we can say about today. It's a reversal day and a strong bullish day, but there's just not much going on there. So as far as setups, I should say, because there's a strong trend here. And if you recognize this up here as a strong trend, just remember any of those signal bars that come back to the key entry point, you can probably take them. Only one I probably wouldn't take would be this one because you don't have room back into this trend line to scalp out. It still works, but you don't know that because it could touch that line and turn right back down. So it still doesn't leave you a lot of opportunities up through here, other than the 3 I marked here, green. And I think they're all second entry, so they're pretty straightforward actually. There it is. Not much else I can say about it today, so I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.